Hi guys, so in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to use webtoon backgrounds in your own webtoons, and I'm also going to be showing examples in Clip Studio Paint and in Procreate. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is where I find my webtoon backgrounds. Second thing is going to be how I format backgrounds. Okay, so the final thing that I'll be showing you is how I make my backgrounds look like this from my recent chapters and not like this from my past chapters. Now, you guys have been hitting me up in my DMs and also just sending me loads of comments on my socials about how I do this. So I thought I'd make a YouTube video since I personally would have found this really helpful when starting my own webtoon, and gatekeeping is bad. Okay, to start off, go into your Google or your Safari and search up Akon 3D. You're then going to want to click a link like this and it will redirect you to this site where they have webtoon and game backgrounds. As you can see, they have like coffee shops, they have houses, they even have 3D models and different brushes for like your backgrounds. So the left hand side, as you can see, they have genres fantasy, historic, action, all of that kind of stuff. I then click on subject, and as you can see, they have plenty of stuff that you can all look through. But because I'm doing a school webtoon, I click on school and education. Okay, so as you can see, they have a lot of things here which are school related and education related. I'd recommend really doing your research for your webtoon though on what you really need, and just looking at reviews as well, because I've regretted some of the things that I've bought just because they didn't fit that well. Anyways, as you can see, I just clicked one of the backgrounds and it redirected me to this page where you get a project introduction from the person who's created the background. You also just get loads of screenshots of what the background's like. So after this, I'm going to show you that I sign into my account, and as for you guys, if you don't have Akon 3D, then I'd recommend that you create an account just because it's easier to store your backgrounds there. So as you can see, I'm just signing in. Then I go into my user home so I can see my past orders, and I'm going to show you how I bought one of my past purchases in a very simple way. Okay, so once you've found the background that you want to use for your webtoon, you want to just scroll down and look. If they have a YouTube video, I recommend that you watch it because it's just quite insightful. So I just look through the details, the notices, the file information, and also reviews if they have a lot, but also the images should be good enough as a review. So as you can see, I'm just scrolling through and it's just loading, but this is one of the backgrounds I use for my own webtoon. So I just want to remind you guys that you need to make sure it's a SketchUp file, because this is what we're going to be using later on, which is basically like an app which I'm going to be talking about in just a second. Before you purchase any backgrounds, make sure to download the app SketchUp, because that's where we're going to be storing our backgrounds. Once you have confirmed that this is the background that you want to click use on this pink button and it will direct you to this page where you want to allow the pop-up window, and you'll see your order form. So your background will be here, all your order details, your payer information with your payer name, and as you can see, I've already purchased this, but I'm just showing you an example. So the license type, and also if you have any points, you want to use them because it decreases the price that your background's going for. Then when you scroll down a bit more, you'll see the payment method and click the notices, and when you're ready, you want to go down and click buy. Then this is what it will look like. If you go to your user home, you have the option to download, so you want to click that and it will basically have a pop-up window and you will download it and it will go straight to your files, and it will look something like this with a little SketchUp logo on the file. Click it and you can see my SketchUp here. It will open up and your background will look something like this, and I'm using the iPad viewer version, so obviously it's different on computer. I think that's kind of a different method. But now we're going to start planning the background. So as you can see here near the arrow, I click it and I want to get rid of the axes, so I switch it off and now my background looks a tiny bit better. I then go to the sky option and I pick like a dark kind of blue. I'm just showing you this is like more nighttime, but we're going to work with a more light blue for like a morning kind of background. So once you're done and you've picked out your background, you then want to click here near this arrow, and this is where you'll find shadows. You want to click the shadow option and swipe it and wait for the on face and on ground section to appear. Now that it's appeared, as you can see, there aren't any shadows, and I've realized this happens with some of the backgrounds that you get, but there's a way to fix this which is really easy. At the bottom where it says light and dark, I'll put an arrow there so that you can see. It's basically an option where you can change up the settings for the background, and once you alter it so the light's ahead of the dark, the backgrounds become visible. I don't know why it's like this, but that's how I was able to fix mine. And as you can see, the shadows can either be really harsh or really dark depending on what you do. But once I was comfortable with it, I just was working with my background. I changed the shade because the blue I picked before I didn't really like. And then you want to take your screenshot and you want to bring it into Clip Studio Paint where you'll import it from your photo library. Once you've got it, you want to position it behind your character and make sure you pick a good perspective which you think makes sense. So just keep on working with it until you think it looks good. Once you've done this, you want to get the rectangular selection tool and you want to use it to get rid of the excess outside of the lines. Okay, so on top of my background layer, I create another layer and I clip it, which we'll be using for later. Here's the tip: if you want to make your character pop more, go to the gradient erase and you erase the background slightly by pulling it down, and it just makes your character look like they're the main focus more than the background, which I find quite helpful. Now I'm going back to that layer which we clipped and I'm setting it to glow dodge, but you can also do add glow. And I'm selecting an orangey yellow kind of colour which is quite saturated, which we're then going to be using for the highlights. And as you can see, I'm just testing it out. It's quite a sunny day for this panel, so I'm making it look very bright. So now that I'm happy with the background and how it looks, I'm now going to get a blue shade because I'm going to create some clouds in the background. That was also the brush that I'm using. I use the magic wand and I use it as a selection tool so that the clouds don't really interfere with the background. And I'm just going to start placing them very sporadically and just seeing what I like, seeing what fits. Don't make it look too crowded, just do something that looks kind of natural. I just went with 3 in the end, I'm pretty sure. And once you're done with that, you want to just zoom in and make sure that it's not going over, because sometimes the magic wand tool can be a bit messy and not very accurate. Okay, now here's a little tip. If you're doing a background which is nighttime or it's morning like this background, you want to do another layer on top of the clipping masks of your character that you're colouring and add lighting or a multiply so it seems like they're in the background, if that makes sense. Now I'm just adding in some lighting and some flares and rainbow tools. Honestly, just mix it up and mess around and see what you like, and once you're happy, then your panel has basically been completed, and that's all it takes to really do your own background. If you're not comfortable with buying big, expensive backgrounds, I'd recommend going to Akon recommendations where you can get free models. If you just scroll down, there are mainly objects, but you can find classrooms, you can find restaurants, cafes, castles. Like, it's quite random because they are free, but just know that it's pretty good for what you're getting. And I found this classroom which I thought would have been really good for the first few chapters of my webtoon, because I'm going to show in a second that mine was really bad compared to my recent. So if you want to get it, just copy the steps that I showed before and you should be able to get it easily. Now this is for the Procreate tutorial, since we've done the Clip Studio one. So you've got your colouring and your line art all done, and now you need to do your background. Insert it from your photo library and you want to just drag it up to the panel which you're doing the background for. You then want to just enlarge it and you want to pick the perspective and make sure that it looks right. As you can see, I was having a bit of trouble because I was trying to make it look like she fit in the background. So I'm just turning it and I'm mixing it until it looks right for me. Then I go and I do the same thing I did in Clip Studio. As you can see, I'm just removing it. I use the hard airbrush tool because I find that it gets rid of things quickly and easily, so that's what I did. Then, as you can see, I went and I did a layer above and I clipped it to the background, and I got a yellowish orangey colour, and I set the layer to add and I started to just put the natural lighting inside. Okay, so now I'm adding a layer above everything that I've drawn, and I'm adding in some bokeh lights, and you'll also see I'll add in some sparkles. I'm just trying to make this character seem very glamorized because she's new, she's popular, and if you want the panel to look more appealing, you want to put in more detail. But as you can see, I've been able to make the background look pretty good in Procreate. I would say that the quality was personally better for me in Clip Studio Paint, but I did use Procreate when I started my webtoon, so it works just as well, to be honest. But it works in both art softwares, so it is generally possible. I'm not sure about Ibis, but I think you should be able to do an Ibis Paint because they have so many brushes in there, and honestly the background's a screenshot, so it should be possible. Also for Photoshop, but I'm not sure about the brushes in Photoshop. I'm trying to think of the other softwares. It should work, but anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Please remember to leave a like and subscribe and comment for other video ideas. Also, please make sure to check out my webtoon Unknown Paths.